Hey, you guys, this is Death College, and you are tuned into the Academia Gothica official podcast. This is season 5, episode 6. Thanks for tuning in. So kind of a shorter episode this go around. Plenty of stuff to talk about, but there's something actually that I wanted to throw out into the ether here, because this isn't a money idea. Okay, so if anybody who uses this for money, I'm gonna know exactly who the hell you are, because I'm the only person who thinks of stuff like this, and that's something you're gonna have to accept. So pause it though. So there's a legislation, right, that damns hackers basically to hell for hacking people, right? But considering that hacking is actually practice for actual cyber combat that could be taking place within a reasonably short amount of time, considering how long it actually takes to learn this kind of stuff on the go, right? Or at all. Considering that one of the major world powers is under martial law, I feel like it's time to posit some interesting political ideas, making it legal to hack people so long as they can prove that they can defend themselves. If they have the ability to hack someone back, then it's fair game. But if they do not necessarily have the same, tier status of experience to be able to defend themselves appropriately, for example, the same way that someone who is seen to have a weapon and training to know how to use the weapon, using this weapon against somebody who has never even had any experience with it, having a certain tier of punishment or level of punishment placed against them, should be applying to hacker dynamics. Meaning that if you have two hackers fighting each other and, there's already an unspoken rule there that there's no authority necessary to intervene. They're just going to duke it out until they can, But considering that in environments that are primarily turning anprim or, anarcho-primitivist, where there's an entire ecosystem developing based on hacker skills, and it's literally get good or die, right? Supposing that people in governments want to create some sort of auditing process, you have to factor this stuff in. You can't just arrest every hacker, because some hackers are actually fighting people who deserve to be fought. And that's a really ugly reality that I feel like people should be facing now, same as marijuana not hurting anybody unless you get behind the wheel of a car and go driving around stoned as fuck pretending everything is Paper Mario, because it's not. Or anything else like that, there's some stuff that you should know not to do, and then there's stuff that is it's gray territory, but how gray is gray, man? If the gray is so light that it's basically common knowledge, but nobody's talking about it because they're scared to, how is that improving any kind of social process? I feel like we just have to be more realistic and open with each other, to the extent where we're just based as we are, we're not base as in self-indulgent and without morals or consideration for the overall presentation socially of what something is, but based as in without necessity to hide who we really are, because our contributions are evolving in such a way that actually helps other people, with or without there being a connotation of social pressure. I feel like the more people run away from the pressures of responsibility to learn, adapt, and be realistic about what's necessary to know how to do, especially under crucial and critical thinking circumstances, the better it ends up being for people. Now, I understand that that's a radical perspective, because parents everywhere right now, if they ever heard this, would be like, what do you mean you think you would be right to advocate for my son or daughter being hacked online and blah, blah. Chances are you all already had been hacked and had to do at least 3 repairs at the Best Buy Geek Squad console center to make sure that it didn't happen again because you had spyware put on your device. You really think that came out of nowhere? Somebody fucking hacked you, man. So you mean to tell me I'm advocating for something bad by telling you you deserve to learn and have room to breathe and learn how to hack somebody back? Like, I feel like the more we normalize people hacking each other back and just creating a tier system that marks like, okay, this is a level 1 attack. This is really simple. It's not really punishable by law. But as you go up and further and up this chain, this ladder of definition for the levels of attacks and what was being attacked, like let's say arbitrarily a level 7 attack is a ransomware group placing malware on your kid's desktop computer while they were looking up game cheat codes, and now all the meta money that you had on your box is locked up and you can't get access to it, right? That should be punishable by law because you don't know how to defend yourself yet. It's not to say that hacking back is bad. It's to say that might actually be necessary in the next 5 years. Scary to say it, but you need to start learning this kind of stuff. And this is for everybody. Like this isn't me saying, oh, this is supposed to trigger you and make you upset. No, man, I'm trying to give you the heads up that learning these types of things, or at least how they work ahead of time, could prepare you for worse situations. And that should be legal. There shouldn't be a stigma around learning this kind of stuff. There should be a stigma and a sort of grading system for how severe something is. And there are enough ways to prove this too, in order to back it up with documentation in court. Now, while you could say, oh, but that could be forged too. Yeah, well, we're in an age where everything down to the footage you receive on a live stream capture from a camera can be forged, defaced. It could be altered by AI. It really doesn't matter. All of this stuff at this point could be fake. We have to be as honest with each other in our intentions as possible to get down to the root of this. Now, it's not to say that social credit is the answer either. It's not. That's important. You need to realize the social credit thing is not the be all end all, because that is also very easy to manipulate with money. And we see that in bribes, right? So that's a whole other thing. But the solution to this is to just make sure that if we're going to be communicating about this kind of sensitive stuff and people are going to use this as an extortion method, we have to make the extortion impossible, as close to impossible as we can, by building good rapport with each other. We should be at a point in this time and place and history where we can talk about these kinds of things, talk about how we know about them, and to warn each other. Because if we're fighting with each other when we can be protecting each other, who the fuck are we going to be able to fight after we're worn out, after we have no energy, after we fought about the wrong things, wasted our energy, and couldn't come up against an adversary if we wanted to? These are the types of things we have to consider. So I propose, if we're going to work around this whole espionage and ransomware and extortion and who are you to help people, blah, blah, you know what we are? We are liberated people on this earth doing what is right by each other. That's who the hell we are, to help each other. What a damnable offense, right? Just kidding. No, we're really just here to do what it is that we do. I know it's controversial. I would not have this show, and I would not have this blog, and I would not be me if I was not a controversial person towing the line between something that could be seen as scary and something that is actually scary, which is this being covered up. That's how I see it. That's how I'm seeing things. I see you all as people with your own senses of self. And what I may be seeing that maybe some of you don't yet is that there are ways for you to exercise that are totally within your limits, that are totally within your expectations of freedom, that people might not be telling you because they think it's less complicated that you don't know it. But what's actually complicated is the long-term implication of what it means to hand your power over to someone not knowing you had it in the first place. Nobody deserves that. So yeah, short episode, really dense information. I mean, my solution is if I see you in the street and I happen to know you're a hacker, I'll probably just, toss you like a peace sign or some shit, or like, what's that thing people do? They just walk past each other and like bump their fists or whatever the hell. I mean, back in the day, we used to have a whole handshake. I don't know if people do that anymore, so I probably sound like I'm a million years old. Like, yeah, me, the dino hacker, but that's fine. So, it's like there were ways to, like, greet each other. I just kind of nod. I'll just nod at you and be like, yeah, I know you. Or I might not say anything if I actually recognize where you're from, because just discretion is key. If you recognize somebody and you know where they're from, it's not always the smartest thing to say something about it. I'm just saying. But yeah, just know that, like, I'm not gonna be the one to be like, hey, you're that guy, because, like, I've probably seen people who have, like, thousands of followers on YouTube walking down my block, and I don't say anything. Because at the end of the day, they're just famous people walking down the street. Like, people might know who I am. Why do I? They don't need to look at me like, yeah, I know who you are. It's like, yeah, I'm sure the fuck you do. Like, there were days that people looked at me like that, where, like, I didn't even know who I was. So imagine that. That was awkward, right? But like I said, like, these are just people. And, if we're all just going to be people and we're not going to have this highfalutin bullshit attitude about ourselves, forgive me and my language here, but really, it's like these people's personalities in some ways can be so inflated that it's like them coming down to earth would, like, kill them. You know what I mean? It's like it would literally, like, destroy their sense of self-concept to just be a human being in some cases. And I can't relate to that, because it's like, I'm just a person, man. So, if I'm a person and I happen to inspire you or do whatever, like, all I ask is that you just don't steal from me, because, whatever money I end up making, I can promise you, like, that's going straight back to you in whatever way. And it already has. You could probably trace my social media accounts, like, way back to some stuff that people borrowed and turned into, like, a nice income boost to their already established brands. Like, it's just, trends are trends. So people believe, like, oh yeah, it's free game, it's whatever. Yeah, but, like, you don't understand what emotionally that kind of confusion, like, did I build this world, kind of does to a person, just to see all that money going straight into the pockets of people who already had money and, like, don't want to give it up. It's that kind of thing. This is especially, like, it went from hackers to, like, corporate theft and white collar crime. But, like, let's be serious. Like, the two can and have been, especially lately, going hand in hand. They have been, tied together in the same kind of thing. And I say that because, ever since Google started that whole, like, joint account thing about, like, 15 or 20 years ago, everything's kind of just, gone down the proverbial sewer. So there are ways that this has and can, have a trace back to corporate stuff. But, it's also up to us as, like, grassroots people just learning about stuff to just be as for real as possible with each other. And, like, if anything, just lock the corporate stuff out of it. Just be like, oh yeah, you're corporate, cool, you're not invited. It's like, even if we go corporate, it's like an unspoken rule, like, yeah, no, you can't trust them anymore, we can't be trusted anymore, sorry. Like, the spirit of full disclosure, just because, business is business, and whatever it is. Like, I mean, we could try to build a new world and be like, yeah, it's cool, but so yeah, if a person is an advanced hacker hacking a baby hacker, I think the advanced hacker should just, totally eat legal dookie about it. Because, like, we're in a situation where, like, the hunter be hunted thing, it's just so badly disproportioned that, like, people are straight up not going to make it out. They're not going to make it through. So we got to do something about that. Kind of put, like, a temporary lid on that, like, hey, we got to start fixing something about that, because I don't see that going very well. Like, that's gonna be a data holocaust, as if we aren't already going through stuff like that already. So that's a double already there. But yeah, no, it's happening. So we should kind of armor up against that and do something about that before it gets worse. But yeah, okay. We're just about at 14 minutes and a half. So this has been Death College. You are tuned in to the Academia Gothica official podcast, season 5, episode 6. Thanks for tuning in. Really glad to be here with you guys. If you like the content, subscribe, send a donation if you like. All the information is posted in these exit exit footage things here. And yeah, just hit me up. I'm at DC at conversations.im if you'd like to send me a message, stay in contact. You know how to find me. And yeah, thanks for tuning in. Have a good night, have a great weekend, and enjoy the rest of your week. I'll see you somewhere around Wednesday or Thursday. So later.